Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through the industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Brittany Hansen. She is a brand strategist and tech entrepreneur, special interest in marketing, sustainability, strategy, and global responsibility. Welcome to the show, Brittany.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show, Brittany. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to discuss right now. We'll learn from you about the future of brand communication. In this backdrop, we'll have our conversation. But before that, let's learn a bit about you, your journey, your background, so that people know who they are listening to.
Okay. Well, um, I started in tech about 8 years ago. I came from a background in psychology, and my sister in law and I, who is my sister in law, is my co founder, had an experience where we watched a family at the same zoo we were at trying to have the experience we were having, but because they did not speak the same language as us, they were unable to have that experience that we were having. So we realized that really for everyone to make the best decisions, they need access to the same information, the very best information. And the easiest way to do that is on people's phones and in their language. So that's really the platform that we've built is about helping businesses to communicate directly with their customers in the easiest, most seamless way possible.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll talk about the platform also, Brittany. But first, let's understand a bit about this brand communication, brands as well as the way they are communicating with their customers. So let me understand it this way. I'm not an expert. You are an expert in this, but I want to understand: is it the best of times for brands for brand communication, or is it not so good times for them?
It depends on how they're utilizing it right now. Marketing is different right now than it has been for so many years because before we had access to all kinds of information through social media platforms, through cookies, through all of these kinds of things. Most of that is not allowed or not allowed on the same level that it was allowed before. And consumers want something different than they've ever wanted before. Consumers are seeing in excess of 10,000 ads a day. And so they're learning to tune people out. And you have to, or else you would go crazy. And brands are getting more and more desperate to communicate with their consumers. So some are trying new methods. So we'll see a lot of reach outs on social media in ways that are designed to be very creative. And some have gone back to old methods, like how there are now commercials on Prime Video and other streaming services. What's happening is that brands are struggling to keep up with what consumers are asking for, which is more a one on one interaction. And that brands know intuitively when their consumer wants to be engaged with versus when they would like to be left alone. We're seeing the dawn of ethical marketing, which is truthful storytelling and ways of reaching people that are ethical. We're seeing more one on one and digital marketing. And so, in that way, it's really the dawn of something new and golden, but it is taking brands a minute to catch up with what's happening.
Absolutely. So, what are the challenges at the moment? Brands are facing. You talk about brands, even luxury, in terms of other brands facing challenges of taking care of sustainability. So many things. I want to understand for the audience. What are the challenges some of these brands that are facing today?
Yeah, so you're right. There's a lot of brand challenges today. I would say the first one is learning how to use AI appropriately. The brands that are using AI are seeing a 30% increase at the minimum in consumer engagement, but a lot of them don't know how to use it yet. They're trying to use it to replace human interaction. You can't use it to replace human interaction. You have to use it in a way that enhances the interactions that you're having. You need to use AI to learn about your consumer rather than engage with your consumer. You should still be doing the engaging. Another thing that brands are really struggling with is Voice search and picture search have become very, very popular. And brands know how to use SEO on their website, but they're not optimizing themselves for voice search. They're not optimizing themselves for image search. So they're missing out on a lot of engagements that they could be using there. And sort of the last piece is they're not engaging with their customer in a way that doesn't feel like we're talking to everyone and we want you to self select what's important for you and move down our funnel. Customers don't want to be talked to that way anymore. When you talk to everyone, you talk to no one. Your customer wants to be spoken to as an individual, and then they will broadcast your message. So inductive marketing is new, and brands are struggling to catch up with it right now. Some are doing it very well, specifically in the luxury market. We're seeing some people who are doing amazingly well, but it's taking time for everyone to adapt.
Absolutely, absolutely. One more thing, that in the last few years, especially, everyone as a customer has experienced this, that brands have not been able to keep in touch with the needs and requirements of the customer. Means after the sale, and taking customers' money, the brand is gone.
Yeah.
And the customer, if they have a problem, then they cannot get through anyone responsible in the company. You got bots, chatbots, and all the so a company's senior management can be found on LinkedIn, but they will not be found anywhere else. No one is responding. You have to write an email. Then again, if you're lucky, you get a response to that. That thing is, it's the customer will never forget. I
Yes.
as a customer do not forget it. How do then these brands, when they are communicating digitally, not through some advertising on a television screen, then if I engage with them, I will not engage with a great sense of a feeling for them, and I may just come out of complaining about the issue rather than listening to what you are trying to thrust down my throat. So I want to understand this aspect, which is growing at a very fast speed, and especially in addition, now brands are jump again pushing down those robocalls, all those messages through my throat. How do you see
Yes.
this whole thing?
So you're absolutely right. And we all have purchased something and the brand seemed really engaging and exciting. And then we purchased it and we needed help with something. And you can talk to a bot on their website. That's who you can talk to. That's not going to work moving forward because customers, if you want loyal customers, they have to have a good experience all the way through purchase to post purchase and then repurchase. That means you have to have customer success representatives. It means you need information available in all forms on many, many platforms so that they know exactly how to get the help that they need and so that they love you and evangelize for you. But that doesn't happen unless you make sure that your customer has a great experience after purchase as well. That's really where loyalty is bought, right? Is in the experience with your product and your business afterward. And we are seeing some of that, especially on um, there's been some really great companies who are doing email campaigns. After you buy something, you get a video from like the founder of the company that says, "Hey, thank you so much for engaging with us. We're so excited to have you as part of the family." That's really wonderful, but it's still broad messaging for someone who's already purchased from you. You have to be able to engage with people at the level that they want to engage with you. How I think that's best done is through QR codes on your packaging. And I'm not talking about a regular QR code that routes them to your website. I'm talking about a QR code that's built for someone who already purchased from you and wants to continue to engage with you in their language in the moments that they're interested. This is curated information for someone who already has engaged with you because that person is special. It's different. You're no longer casting a net and saying, "Purchase from me." They've already done that. Now they want to engage with you on a different level. This is part of customer journey mapping and understand how your product is used after it's purchased, where people tend to have communication breakdowns, what problems people have with your items after it's purchased. It's all part of customer journey mapping, and up until now it's been a place we didn't have a lot of analytics, but you can now. QR codes have opened all of that up. Digital technology is opening all of that up so we can have those meaningful analytics and provide a beautiful experience after purchase.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, in this sort of a backdrop, Brittany, is your life easy? Is your life very difficult as a brand strategist? When do you come in when brands are not, people are not talking to the brand, or people think, no, we need to talk to the customer in the right way? Some right thinking person in the company starts thinking that way.
Yeah, so that's such a great question. I have come in at lots of different times. The customer or the company I currently work with, my role is chief discovery officer. So I come in sometimes very early in the process, specifically when we work with startups who are excited about innovation and who want to build things correctly from the ground up. Sometimes I don't come in until 10 years after when companies are saying, uh-oh, we realize we have a problem. What do we do? And then me and my co-founder and our team get to come in and help them map their customer journey, help them figure out their touch points, and help them know when to execute on those touch points because it's not as intuitive as it used to be, you know? So my favorite is working with strategic startups, but I also love going into a company who's open-minded enough to say, we think we've been doing it wrong these last 10 years. How can you help us? That's exciting. It's exciting to see someone who's saying, I want to change my mind and do things better.
Absolutely. So for those people who are suddenly get in touch after 10 years, Brittany, what do you do? They have not been authentic. Can you create authenticity for them just by brand communications? Means
Of
are they
course.
expecting too much, or how do you create that? Tell us a bit about.
Of course. So it's never too late to create brand authenticity. And even if you've had something happen recently where someone said, I figured out you're not authentic and I really don't like that, the best way to respond to that is say, we heard you and we'll come in and fix it. So typically, as a team, we come in, we learn everything about your brand. It can be done even just online. My favorite is in person. We'll have a meeting with you where we'll discuss everything you see about your brand, and then we'll start bringing in our expertise. I'll go through your purchase. I'll look at your product. We will closely understand everything from an outsider's perspective, right? What is it like to engage with your brand? And we'll let you know where you're falling short. And then we'll come in with our team of marketers and customer success people and work with you to execute better, to say, okay, they've purchased from you. Now there needs to be a QR code in the packaging. It gives them this information. It needs to be, and we continue to provide those analytics after it's started. I can tell you what information they're engaging with for how long. I can tell you what languages they're engaging with. And we have on our platform, we have 4 to 6 times the engagement of the best websites out there. People stay with us longer and they bounce less. So on a typical website, someone will come to your website and 90% of people who engage with your website will bounce. On Vision's platform, we have only a 10% bounce rate. That means that the analytics that we're getting are deeper and better than you're getting other places and more meaningful. So we can actually help you map a customer journey in a more meaningful way than it's ever been done before. And we'll do that using your brand voice while also making suggestions to help you be more authentic, more transparent with your customer, and communicate with them in a more meaningful way.
Absolutely. 10% bounce rate is a dream, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. As far as I know, we're the only ones that can offer that to businesses right now. A 10% bounce rate is pretty phenomenal.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to understand. You see, a lot of times brands are doing well, brands are doing fine, they are good with the customer, but then they have to also look at the social landscape, political landscape. They have to be part of that discussion. Either it is you are on the side of all this whichever side you are on this climate discussion. Sometimes that can be. Some brands fully utilize it in that sense that we are very much sustainable sort of a brand and all those talk. And even politically also something happens in Middle East and some brands will come out openly talking about it. If you don't, people will ask them to comment. How or what do you suggest about these things to these brands? You cannot speak. If you speak, you are alienating at least some part of your customers. If you and there can be things you can speak, you will speak which may not be fully aligned with what you want to speak. it can be very, very fuzzy for them as well as their loyal customers. How do you navigate this space?
You know, you're right. The landscape is difficult right now, and I think so many brands are afraid that if they say something, they're going to be canceled, right? That they're going to tick off the wrong person and it's going to ruin everything. What I have found is that there is a very vocal minority who is out there who is willing to tear people apart over everything. But I do think the vast majority of people are realistic, they are approachable, they understand that mistakes are made. And when we approach those mistakes or something we shouldn't have said or something that got twisted in a very calm way, in a way where we own up to our mistakes, in a way where we're more transparent, people in general actually appreciate that. To your point on sustainability, and I've talked about this a lot, we tend to think of sustainability as you're either like brown, black, you're trying to kill the environment, or you're bright green, and everything that you do is powered by the sun, and you have a negative carbon impact, and you're amazing, right? That's not true. The vast majority of companies fall somewhere on that spectrum. And we're okay with that as human beings as long as you're truthful with us about where you fall on that spectrum and what you're doing to better yourself. I do not expect for, especially small mom and pop kind of companies, new innovative kind of companies, to do everything immediately. It's expensive, it's prohibitive. There's no way to do that. But I do want to know about the steps you're taking to become a better company. I do want to know that you decreased your plastic consumption. I do want to know that you used paper pulp in my packaging. I am curious, and I loved that you said this. Something happens in the Middle East and people expect you to make a statement about it. I think that is often true, but I also think that people will assume if they do business with you that you align with them anyway. So, where we really make mistakes is not leading with empathy. When we come out hard and fast against someone and we say something harsh, we leave ourselves open for judgment, and we don't leave ourselves permission to learn that maybe what we said was wrong and come back from it. When we lead with empathy, for instance, um and see, I'm trying even to think of the right one. If we talk about if we talk about what's happening in Ukraine right now.
Right, right. I was about to come to that also.
Mhm.
Yeah, carry on.
I believe that the best thing we can do is lead with empathy. It it doesn't feel right for people to be attacked. It doesn't feel right for children to die. It doesn't feel right for people to be stripped of their most basic human rights. That is where I stand as a person. That's not okay for that to happen. Um, it's unlikely that I will come out and tell you where I stand politically because I know that I'm not fully informed on everything. I'm trying. I'm doing the best I can. I read news from news outlets all over the world. I refuse to only read news from my own country, and especially from one side of the political place, right?
Absolutely.
Um but I will tell you that I firmly believe that nobody should be hostily taken over. It's okay for a company to come out and say that they believe that. And then if they find out that something they said was wrong, a political leader that they backed was there was some hidden agenda you didn't know about, then you take to social media and you say, I just learned this. And let me tell you what that means about my position. I just learned this, and let me tell you that I believe I was wrong about what I initially said. That's okay. That's okay. Like, don't be so afraid to be wrong that you don't take any position. That's where you lose everyone. You can't be so afraid to lose people that you don't say anything, that you don't do anything, that you don't talk to anyone, that your marketing is vague and ridiculous, that your messaging speaks to no one, that you're we call it like beige marketing, that you're just it's just blah, it just exists, it's just there. That's not what people are looking for anymore. We want brands that align with us. If that means that you are niche to a very specific person, then know that person and speak to that person. But don't be afraid to stand up for what you believe is right And when you do it wrong, say sorry and start over again. Be brave.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well put, Brittany. But you see, sometimes you see, talking of Ukraine, in the last several years, a lot of companies uh, had to, or either willingly, unwillingly, they had to go with their slogan called "Stand with Ukraine." Fine, whatever the situation is. Suddenly now, government changes, the administration changes, and the whole tone changes. And no, the administration has a different tone. As a company, I am stranded. Means which side to take? Should I take my earlier position? Should I take the new position? It can be very difficult for a company at any place. If they will find it difficult to say yes, no. Nobody is ready for this. It can be difficult for a top management to take any stand. If you keep quiet, how long will you keep quiet? I want to understand how do you straddle this different atmosphere, even in the case of DEI. You see, diversity,
Yeah.
equity, inclusion. A
Inclusion.
lot of companies were talking about all these things, but then again, administration views changes. What do? You are not a big company like those, Meta or Google or any other company which can do all that, navigation very nicely as per the requirements. But smaller companies, they are stuck with a position that they have taken. That is not a bad position to take, but then suddenly it becomes difficult for you. Employees can ask, means, and you may not have you will come out very different than a lot of other companies. I want to understand how do you navigate all these changes which you are not part of.
So I maybe have a different kind of view on that. And that is that if you feel like you were wrong in what you said, you apologize and come forward. If this is woven into who you are as a business and you still believe you are right, then the ethical and authentic thing for you to do is to stay where you said you were. I struggle with the idea that 5 years ago DEI was where people went and they made all these amazing promises about what they were going to do, and then they changed their minds and said, "Never mind, just kidding." We What that means to me is that it was not woven into the values of the company, because if it was, it stays, right? So it's really about finding what your company is about and sticking to that, and only pivoting when you find that your values or your morals are not in line with what you thought they were. If your values are not DEI, that's okay. You know who you are. But if you say your values are DEI and they are not, that's when you have a disconnect with your consumer. That's when you come out and you say, "Oops, we were just kidding. We just laid off all of our DEI people and half of our workforce that we hired because it was DEI." Means that you did not make change meaningfully. It means that you bought into something because it was a trend and not because you actually believed that. So I honestly would encourage companies to move slower on trends, to ensure real adoption for the things you actually believe, and to move forward at that pace rather than just acting because it's the cool new thing and then dropping it 2 years later. That's where people struggle to know who you are. That's where especially millennials and Gen Zers say, "Well, I thought you were this company, you're actually this, so I'm jumping. I'm leaving you." That's where you get in trouble. It's typically not when you take an actual stand and stick with that stand. It's when you shift in a non-meaningful way, in a way that's clearly about meeting today's trends and not about um, your brand authenticity. So I would say, um, if you're making a pivot, do so transparently and explain why, but make sure you're actually ready to make that pivot. You need to be true to who you are as a company, not what you think people want to hear from you, because they will find out. It happened not that long ago with Whole Foods. They did a whole bunch of performative marketing, and then people found out that the story they were telling their customers wasn't true. It's very damaging when those things happen. So go slower, make sure you're doing it the right way, and only adopt things that feel true to you as a company.
Absolutely, absolutely, Brittany. Well explained that, and I'm sure a lot of people will find all this information, suggestions for them very useful. One last thing I want to understand for the startups, for the small businesses, if how do they, many a times, they have very limited budget,
Mhm.
and they also want to build brand. How do you do that in today's time? Should they just limit their aspirations and just focus on selling their products, or should they also focus on brand building with very limited budget, because they don't want to go wrong? They can,
Right.
as you said, pivot, and then you may fall flat. What is the best approach for them?
This is a great discussion, and I feel like I can definitely speak to it because we were a startup not that long ago, right? I will tell you this. Firstly, never lower your expectations. Don't do that. Hope is a vital part of the excitement that comes with the innovation of startups. So don't shortchange yourself. It is important to sell your product, but when people buy your product, they're not really buying their product. They're buying the feeling that comes with your product. And part of that is brand recognition and and having built the story of your brand. It is vitally important. You can't get past it anymore. People are online looking for you when they look for your product. They are online looking for your business. Now, I just told you to go slow. I still believe that. So find what your core beliefs are as a company and start with those. As you build your company, your morals, your values are going to evolve and change. Slowly bring those in. You don't have to bombard people with everything today. I don't have to say, I make really lovely designer purses, and I'm pro Ukraine, and here's where I stand on what's happening in Iraq and Iran, and here's how I feel about sustainability, and here's how like, that's overwhelming. Nobody wants to hear that anyway. So start with, right? I'm a small business and I believe in the value of handmade goods. Amazing. I totally align with that as a person, right? Or I'm a tech company and I believe that everyone should have a voice at the table. So I always make sure to hire 20% from minority groups. Cool. What a great place to start. If you're feeling overwhelmed by the efforts that you're making or the messaging you're trying to give out, so are the people you're trying to talk to. So start simple, start easy, start transparent, and build from there. And you'll do amazing.
Absolutely, absolutely. You were talking of those 10% bounce rate and also a platform. If you can tell a bit about that, so that people don't know that about that a bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my co founder and I built a platform called Vision. It's VIIISION because we will give you the third eye into what your business is doing. Um, our platform was built here in Little Idaho, and we will help you if you're a business to reach your customers in new ways. Our platform is built through dynamic QR codes that right now we have 21 languages that automatically display on someone's phone. That's our patent, so that you can give people the language they need and the information that they need in the moment that they need it. And we have lots of different size packages because we were a startup and we understand that not everybody can come in at a very high price point. We even have a program called the Challenge Program where you can come in and try us for several months, get some of our consulting, get a single QR code that we can change the information behind and try it, because we really want to support small businesses. That said, we love working with enterprise businesses as well. Um, and we have several verticals that we work in. I do a lot with luxury products and regular products and marketing. We have someone who specializes in agriculture. We do specialties in the medical industry. So if you're interested in trying something new, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. Please check out our website. We will find a way to help you, kind of regardless of your price point. If you are excited about brand transparency and accessibility, we're the right people to talk to.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for
Thank
joining us.
you.